Hey, my name is Tim. I am an environment artist at Treyarch. I'm going to be doing some voxel sculpting in 3DCoat version 4.7.06. I'm not going to be going over a lot of basic features, not like a how-to for the whole program. I'm gonna pick something to make. I'm gonna make it and just show you how to do it while I'm creating things. So I thought we would start with some kind of metal fastener. What it really does best is being able to do a lot of booleans that would take you hours sometimes to stitch together in 3D Studio Max or Maya or something like that. So I picked 3 different metal joints that of different complexity. So the first one is going to be this guy here, and I'm going to have it off to the side. But I think you could probably make this in a pretty quick period of time. So let's just get started. Going to get out of perspective mode. Go over to Sculpt Tab. On my options here, you can change out your different tools in Coat. I like to display mine as just tabs with the text on it. It's everything fits. Some of the other ones with the thumbnails, they go off the page and you got to scroll down to see everything. So let's go ahead and just I'm going to pick on a cylindrical shape in the model tab over here to the right. Now these are the default primitive shapes that comes with 3DCoat. The problem with some of the round shapes, any curvature, so the 3DCoat likes to it's going to give you exactly what you get. There's no like smoothing or tessellation after the fact with the proxy meshes that you get. You stamp it down, so if that's got faceting in it, you're going to get faceting in the model. So, but anyway, I'll pick on a cylinder. I'll reset my space. Make sure the pivot's at the middle by hitting to bound center, and I'm just going to grab the global scale in the middle and just scale it up and you see the poly count growing here. I don't know. I usually like to work about 1 million polys at kind of a rough stage. So I'm going to go ahead and just scale that, shape it a little bit. Again, this is what we're making. So I basically need, a pipe shape. So I'll elongate that. And then it's telling me I'm at about 848,000. I think that's probably all right because I'm going to need to smooth this a little bit. So I'm going to go stamp it down by hitting enter. And then it's basically asking me, like if I was bringing this in as a mesh, if I had exported out of Max or Maya as an OBJ, and I'm importing an OBJ, and it's asking if I want to preserve the scale reference of the origin file. For this, we don't really have that. We're just kind of working in a negative space, or just a generic space in 3DCoat, so there's nothing to reference. But if you're working in a scene, you've exported something out, you want to voxelize, sculpt on, and then take back into your scene, and you want to make sure that it retains the scale no matter what you do to it in here, just always hit yes. It's just a good practice. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so I've stamped it down once. I'm going to click off of the import tool, which is showing me this gray proxy shape of the mesh that I've just stamped down into the scene and created a voxel mesh out of. So the proxies are polygonal shapes. They're polygons and verts and edges, and this is a true voxel. So now I've got the cylinder there. If you go back to the import, you've still got the last stamp tool, or the last model. So I'm going to scale it down, and then I'm going to non-uniform scale it, on whatever that axis is, Y maybe. And then holding that control and enter, it will now just subtract that boolean, that shape out. That's kind of leaves my pipe a little thin-walled, so I'm going to undo that. Scale down a little bit more, give me a little more breathing room, but I want to be pretty accurate to the original. Nope. I do. There we go. Again, we're making that. So I've got a pipe shape. All right. And then I need basically this wedge, triangular shape on the side. So, pretty easy. Just grab cube from the cool toolbox. And nothing showing up. Usually hit reset space, bound to center, and create a new layer. Put him off to the side. Squish him down, stamp him in. Right, so now you have basically your pipe and the two components that you're roughly going to need to make that guy. So first off, we'll just go back to the pipe layer. And I'm going to duplicate that guy. Do this. So click, double click, and you rename it pipe. Pipe 2. And wedge. Whatever. Alright. So looking at that guy, take the original one. And then I turn on symmetry. And I have it hotkeyed to S. If you can hotkey any of these tabs over here by just hitting the end key and then do your hotkey combination. So I've got symmetry set to S. And then once I've got it, it'll dock in this panel. I like to keep symmetry open. So we've rotated it one way, got symmetry on. Okay, so we need to get, it's based on, looks like it's, let's see, where are we going? Gotta figure out the right axis. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to position this thing so I can cut it on a 45. I'm going to transform. And then I'm going to get that symmetry point back where I need it. So, unfortunately, let's see. Wait, that's new. Start and end. What, can you tilt it now? I just want it to be centered. Interesting. When did it do that? Okay. Hold on. Reset. You know what? I'm not going to bother with trying to move it. I'm just going to remove the pivot point. So I'm going to just move it into place, and then I'm going to clone it so it basically becomes another proxy. Maybe this wasn't the best shape to pick, but I still don't think it'll be too hard. Alright, so there's that way, and then there's that way, and who knows what the backside of that thing looks like really. But roughly, there's that. So then I'm gonna clone the shape. All right, and then I'm going to go to the vertical pipe layer, and I'm going to turn on symmetry for that. There we go. And so now that I'm on that layer, if I create a new layer, it'll inherit a new blank layer. It'll inherit the axis from the layer that you were previously selected on. So stamp those down. Okay. It's not quite perfect, but anyway. And then I'll clone this dude. Wait, that's the wedge. Okay, see how my axis is rotated? If it gets like that, you can just unhit, leave rotated axis, it'll reset to the screen space, and you can click it again and reset it. So if you hold Control when you rotate, it'll snap. So I'm going to snap to 45. Since I've left the axis rotated, you know, I'm still in local space, I'm going to snap to 45. And I can scale this. And create a new layer for this guy. Stamp that down. Turn off the original wedge. Okay, I've set M for the import tool, which is to merge in the, you know, the models. Okay, and so I've moved this thing all around. I've rotated it. I need to get this this flat panel here, you know, to make the trio of wedges. And you know, instead of trying to figure out, okay, I gotta go 45 this way, 45 that way, you can just hit reset space. Doot, doot. Okay, I'm going to try to line it up to the center of the bottom pipe. And just pull that guy forward. Stamp it down. Alright, so now the question becomes, do we want to try to lop it off, or would you say this thing be inserted on a pole? So I would say it'd probably need to slide onto a pole. They're probably just going to trim out the excess. So now I am going to create a new layer. I'm going to turn symmetry off, and I'm going to right click on that layer, and I'm going to merge visible. And it's just like collapsing layers in Photoshop. And I can turn off all my other layers. And then I'm going to hollow this thing out again. Reset space on a cylinder. To bound center. And you can see the shadowed area inside the mesh, which makes it nice and easy. I'm going to go a little bit out the original, so we can make sure we clean up all the trash. Go from the side view. Doop. Delete that stuff out of there. Okay, we got trash in the original one. Easy enough. Try to do this with symmetry if I can. Pretty good to me. Alright, looks pretty lined up. Let's see if, there we go. Perfect. And just Control and Enter to subtract Boolean. And there we got it. You know. And then to kind of make it look like it's really welded together, this is probably cast. But so we could do the cast version, and I'll do the welded version. Right? Looks pretty similar. Hotkey smooth all, and then this is your smoothing value here. So if that's set to like 1 when you hit S or whatever you set to smooth all, it's gonna do very little. It also depends on the density of your mesh. So right now I'm at about 4 million polys for this guy. So you know, if it was 500,000, one iteration of smooth all is going to be pretty rapid. You're going to get really rounded and edges pretty fast. I mean, all relative, you know, to the density of the mesh and scale of it. So let's see what it just does with one almost full 100% smoothing. Smooth all. See, it took a little bit. Show you that. Again, crunchy edges of the interpretation of the original proxy mesh, which is polygonal, and you can see the faceting, and then it's trying to figure out how to translate those edges and verts on the top, so you get kind of a chunky edge. But one smooth all, and it starts making that look a lot nicer. You hit it a few times, bunch of times. Let it cycle through it. It'll catch up. There you go. And then it's also kind of melted these together just a little bit, you know. I mean, it definitely looks more like, you know, the whole thing was cast as one piece, right? You can slide or pull. We get a little fancier. Maybe we can, you know, let's see. I'll do, how about a sphere? Now I'm just going to improvise. Instead of going off the original, scale that guy down. So you want to mount this thing to a pole or a frame. You know, let's give it like a little place where you can attach a screw, like a twist screw, you know, to tighten it onto the pole. I picked a different shape that has different pivots, so reset the space. I'm going to use a cone. Okay. I think I'm just going to do it on one side. Squash this thing down, scale it up. How much can I go on that, really? You know what, I'm going to do a cylinder first. Okay, got that, and then it's going to be too big of a hole for a screw, so leave it with the lip. Add that back in, right? Scale it down. Subtract. Now I'm gonna smooth. And then I've got some pre-made objects that I've had before, so let's see if I can find this. Heavy metal details, tech. See, I thought I had bolt screws, fasteners. Okay. So those are some of the bolts that I'd made before. That's not what I need. Go back to tech. I thought I had a helix somewhere in here. The 3DCoat objects there. Bear with me. Well, let's just take a bolt. Take a bolt and subtract this bolt. I'll subtract this bolt from here. Yeah, now we got the threads that we need. And I'm going to take that same bolt and I'm going to subtract it from the main pipe. Turn off symmetry. Now, it goes all the way through. And then I'm going to merge volume 23, which is our lip, with the main part, volume 22. I'm just going to rename this to main. Okay, so right click and merge with, and then it pops up another menu. So these can be a little bit wonky, so you got to be pretty careful about where you place the cursor. and we want to merge it with main. So now it's one mesh. We don't really have any other details on the rest of the mesh that I would consider degradable by more smoothing. So I'm going to go ahead and smooth it more so that this part, gets smoothed out and looks a little more cast and not so rough. And, I kind of want this part here. I'm thinking about making that look like it's welded. This, I can still see faceting here. That drives me crazy. As small as it is, I mean, it'd probably never bake out, but I don't know, kind of anal like that. Okay, so where the hell's my Wacom pen? I'm doing all this with the mouse so far. So I'm just going to make this look like it's welded. I'm going to grab the clay brush. And although, I don't know, have they changed how this works? And then I'm going to go over to my alphas. And I like these little guys. I don't know. You can play with the two of them. They're a little bit different, but essentially the same thing. And I'm going to save. Always save, and I'm kind of dumb for not saving yet. Tasia. So, joint 01. And 3DCoat does have an auto backup, which I love. And it also has iterative saving, which is nice. So, you can set up a hotkey for that, which is Control-Shift-S, and it'll do 001, 002, and you don't have to manually rename that stuff. So anyway, I'm going to come in here and do a weld. Let me just do a couple test strokes. Okay, right now I have steady stroke, which is like lazy mouse and ZBrush. I'm going to turn that off. Let's scale this up a little bit. And it's smoothing quite a bit. That looks a little just too soft to me. Now that may actually be a happy accident, because it would leave me a little more of a softened transition from this 90-degree angle. But I'm gonna turn it to 0, and I'm gonna pump up the depth of my brush. And, it still feels really soft. I know I'm zoomed way in, and you probably never bake it out this much. But I'm going to go ahead and res up the whole mesh. Right now I'm at about 4 million polys. I've gone as high as 120 million in code. I don't know how accurate of a representation that is, or if computers are just getting a lot faster, but it works pretty good for me. So, if I res this up, it's going to multiply it quite a bit. But I'll duplicate it first. Actually, duplicate, not create new. I'll turn off the original and res plus. Facebook, damn you. Yes, so it says you can't be undone. So 3DCoat is very forward. It's like forward kinematics. it goes forward really well. It doesn't always go back. There's no stack like Max. You're kind of committed to almost everything you do. So save often. I'd say that's one of the drawbacks, but it's more like working with real material than it is anything else, which is a blessing and a curse. I like it. Okay, so see over here it says 2 times now, and then you'll see down here we're at 17 million tries for this little joint. And then I'm going to go back to my clay tool, and I'm going to come back to this guy, which I don't feel like it's doing. Is it the fall off? Maybe it's fall off. Oh man, I'm going to kill Facebook. Hey, what if I just turn off the internet? That works. Okay. What was I doing? here we go. Back to the clay brush. Fall off. It's not the fall off. So they did something where the clay brush no longer recognizes the alphas. It's just a. So let's see if I can do it with the carve or maybe the build brush. Changes from the marquee to a brush. You know, if you didn't see that, it's all your lasso tools and marquee and point-to-point marquee and different brush shapes or styles. These are okay. So let's see if that's just doing it. Okay, that seems to be regarding it. All right, let's see if I can do this weld. Still really soft. Sloppy weld. It's alright. From a distance it'll look more natural. It's like sketching. Yeah, that wasn't so good. Yeah. See if I can flatten it down a little bit. I don't know. I'm screwing that up. So anyway, got that. I don't know if you want a nut and bolt in there. We can do that. Which, but kind of pointless of, did I stamp that into the, oh no, okay. I thought I merged it into the original. I guess we could probably just use this bolt. To make a little twisty end. You just scale it, manipulate it, and yep. But I want it to connect. Yep. And then we'll cap it off with a nice little screw. Boop. Sorry, I'm making boob sounds. There you go. Let's see, put a you can do right click on a shader and do apply to visible, and then go over to the render tab and do real time. Take off depth of field. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know how long it'd take you to make something like that, just, you know, polymodeling, but I would think, you know, stitching and stuff like that, I don't know. Did you get the same fidelity? It's pretty quick. Your high poly's ready to go. And then when you're ready to kick out, if you need to bake this down, you know, I just go back, maybe do another merge all, unless you wanted to bake the bolt separately, in which I would probably just take the bolt and transform it out of there. Get out of perspective. To bound center. And then I'm going to merge with, wait, what was that? Volume 65. I think when I did that weld, I didn't actually res up the layer that I was trying to work on, but that's all right. Or I undid it, something, because I'm back at 4 million. There we go. Not a whole lot of difference at this point. So there's that guy. Oh yeah, so if you wanted to bake this out, you just right click on the layer and you go export object. Boop. And let's see, yeah, that's fine. So we're going to go, I usually go low poly for decimation. And then I don't have ZBrush at home, but my process after this is just take it into ZBrush and remesh it or decimate it or do whatever you need to make your low, and then unwrap it max, or good to go. So here we go. So the dialog finally comes up. So original poly count 19 million, 50% reduction. It says 70 to 85%. I don't know. 70's about as much as I'm willing to go. And that gives me a 5 million poly mesh, which is definitely low enough to get into ZBrush and not give you too many problems. So there you go. Lesson metal fastener thingy. There you go.